I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today, and in doing so express my heartfelt admiration to every man and woman who has served this great nation in the dire adversity of war, both past, present and emerging. A unity of cultures that has, through duty, bravery and sacrifice, defended our lands as true blue Australians, protecting the home front, therein our future and unquestionably the freedoms that we all gratefully share today. On behalf of the Camperdown RSL sub-branch, may I extend a warm welcome to everyone on this special occasion. The Crangamite Shire Mayor and other representatives, former and serving men and women of our military, RSL members, students and teachers from Camperdown P12 Junior College, St Patrick's, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are fortunate to have students from St Patrick's and Camperdown College Junior Campus who will present readings during the service. It is 103 years since the guns fell silent, and on the 11th hour of the 11th day, the 11th month, 1918, in all 17 million people lost their lives in World War I. Another 21 million were wounded, and in the final months of the war, Australia had felt the losses even more acutely. Between July and October 1981, just a month before the signing of the Declaration, 7,000 diggers were killed and 28,000 wounded. However, it was a further year before many of our loved ones were able to return home. The tasks of returning to the old battlefields and creating those huge cemeteries to remember and pay respect to the fallen was only just beginning. Our focus today is not limited to World War I. Our thoughts are with all those who have served or are still serving and their families who have silently and staunchly supported them throughout the years. It is also 100 years of selling poppies in Australia to raise funds supporting veterans and their families. The RSL League of Australia in 1921 wrote, "The little silk poppies which are to be worn on Armistice Day are an exact replica in size and colour of the poppies that bloom in Flanders fields. These poppies have been made by war orphans in the devastated regions of France and have been shipped to Australia this year for Armistice Day. The League bought 1 million poppies from France to sell on 11 November 1921 at 1 shilling each. 5p per poppy was to go back to France towards the fund for the children of the devastated areas of France. 6p per poppy retained by each state and 1 poppy going to the National Office. The League kept up this practice for several years and of course kept the tradition of selling poppies to mark 11 November and raise money for welfare even when the poppies are no longer obtained from France." I now call on Lizzie Dennis from St Pat's Primary.
Scarlet poppies can flutter like fragile butterflies in the dry yellow corn of summer, and they can dance like graceful ballerinas among the feathery stalks of barley. Red poppies can glow like bright little lamps on our warm winter coats in November, and they can whisper like long-lost voices from the forgotten fields of Flanders.
I'll now call on Philip Russell to read the Anzac Requiem.
On this day, above all days, we recall those who served in a war and who did not return to receive the grateful thanks of the nation. We remember those who still sleep where they were left amid the holy scrub in the valleys and the ridges of Gallipoli, and on the rocky and terraced hills of Palestine, and in the lovely cemeteries of France. We remember those who lie asleep in the ground beneath the shimmering haze of the Libyan desert, at Bardia, Derna, Tobruk, and amid the mountain passes and olive groves of Greece and Crete, and the rugged snow-capped hills of Lebanon and Syria. We remember those who lie buried in the rank jungle of Malaya and Burma, in New Guinea, and in the distant isles of the Pacific. We remember those who lie buried amid loving friends in our motherland and our own far north. We remember those who lie in unknown resting places in almost every land, and those gallant men whose grave and unending sea. Especially do we remember those who died as prisoners of war, remote from their homeland and from the comforting presence of their kith and kin. We think of those of our women's services who gave their lives in our own foreign lands and at sea, and of those who proved to be, in much more than a name, the sisters of our fighting men. We recall too the staunch friends who fought beside our men on the first Anzac Day, men of New Zealand who helped create the name of the Anzac. We recall those who gave their lives in the Royal Navy, the British Army, the Royal Air Force, the Merchant Service, and in other British and Dominion forces. And we think of those British men and women who fell when for the second time in history their nation and its kindred stood alone against the overwhelming might of an oppressor. We think of every man and woman who in those crucial hours died so that the lights of freedom and humanity might continue to shine. We think of those gallant men and women who died in Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, Somalia, the Gulf, East Timor, Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as those in peacekeeping forces and on humanitarian missions, defending the Commonwealth and other countries of the free world against a common enemy. May all these rest proudly in the knowledge of their achievement, and may we and our successors in that heritage prove worthy of their sacrifices.
We'll have the reading Lest We Forget by John O'Connor, 2018, by Paddy Hassett.
100 years we remember, the young, the brave, the few, who gave it their all. Their all for me and you, poppy fields now grow. Where young men fought and died, we wear your poppy in remembrance, wear your poppy with pride.
We shall now read the Roll of Honour. Atchison E, Anstey W, Anson H.J, Armstrong W.J, Bain W.A, Bamford A.G, Bamford A.J, Barnes W.G, Baxter W.J, Beaumont E, Ballier D.W, Blackman S, Blackley C.W.J, Bloom A, Bloom E, Bloom H, Bloom J, Boland J, Borbidge J.C, Boyd C.C, Boyd F, Boyd F.R, Boyd H.J, Boyd J.W, Breen G, Bragenza E.R, Brown C.C, Brown J.H, Butters L.R.O, Cairns E, Callum H, Carter C.L, Carson J, Christie J, Clayton C.J, Code E.E, Cook W.C.Q, Coolstock W.G, Cowley G.A, Crawforth L, Croxon A, Cumming D.A, Darb R.H, Dews W, Dunn E.S, Dugdale B.R, Duggan J, Easterbrook J, Erie E, Erie L.G.D, Ferguson H.C, Fisher L.J, Fisher W, Gardner F, Gardner H.B, Gazzard L.H, Gillies T.J, Glowry J, Glowry L, Greg F.L, Hall W, Hanchett R.A, Harlock G.R, Harrison E.T, Hayball H, Healy W.J, Howell A.F, Hussey C, Hussey L.
Jackson E.F, Jackson H.D, Jackson W.J, Jeffers R, Jeffers W.J, Jenkins E.W, Johnston T.R, Keenan P, Kennedy F.J, Kennedy W, Kenning C.T, Kerr R.J, Kidd A, Lafferty P.J, Lancaster J.S, Larkin J.L.J, Lennox J.T, Linenberg H.G, Logan L.H, Luty V, Lyon I.E, Mac E, Mahan L.J, Mac E, Maloney J, Manifold W.H, McAlpine J.W, McCarthy J.F, McRae J, McRae T, McDonald J, McDonald J.C, McDonald J.D, McGannon H.L, McGannon T.J, McGarvey H.A, Mahar H.G, McKay J, McKean W.J, Mackenzie A.F.M, Mackenzie C.G, Mackenzie F.W, Mackenzie H.M.C.K, McNottier G, McLaren A.H, McLean N.L, McLennan J.M, McLennan M, McLeod R.A, McRae T, Merritt H, Middleton E, Middleton R.A, Mitchell M.R, Miller AMCC, Miller EA, Mowat WDF, McElroy SJ, Mulholland T, Murrell C, Maheel EJ, McNichol C, O'Neill F, Paisley J, Parker CD, Parker JH, Parker L, Perry JH, Parsons WH.
Patterson RGE, Pekin J, Pekin W, Perkins W, Peterson J, Peterson L, Plowman GE, Power D, Quinn WH, Ray GJW, Ray W, Reed E, Regan T, Rippon EE, Robertson WO, Rose CJ, Ross CJ, Ross GJ, Ross L, Ross W, Rounds MO, Ruggles C, Ryan AJ, Reimer E, Sampson MFH, Scott IJ, Sewell AE, Sharp KR, Sharp KR, Shaw A, Shaw A, Smallman NW, Smith AE, Smith CC, Smith HP, Smith JH, Somerville RE, Starling WD, Steele CFC, Stringer A, Styles L, Treewin AD, Turner AE, Turner JT, Turner LP, Unwin TH, Walsh WH, Weatherhead JFL, Williams CC, Williams FH, Williams JS, Williamson H, Wilson FOT, Wilson RS, Wilson SM, Woodmason WH, Wright JA, Yeoman GM, Young R.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget. Lest we forget. From Camperdown College Junior Campus School Captain Kara Johnson. A reading More Not For Me, author unknown, and a reading written by Wayne Oakes.
Mourn not for them, nor wish them back. Life cannot harm them now. The kiss of death has touched each cheek and pressed each icy brow. Yet on this day when first they died, turn back the troubled years. Pause in the press of life a while, give them again new tears. I have never met you, yet I rest my head against the cool stone and run my fingers along the letters of your name. I can do what I do now because you did what you did then.
Let us consider the resting places of those who paid the supreme sacrifice. Up until the Vietnam War, all members of the military who were killed in action or died of wounds or sickness were buried overseas. Those missing in action have no known grave and commemorated on walls in Commonwealth war cemeteries or the Menin Gate in Belgium. The remainder of the soldiers are buried in the Commonwealth war cemeteries with individual headstones. Some who were shipped to hospital in England are interred in cemeteries nearby. Post-war veterans returning home, continuing life as best they could, their final rest post was a local cemetery. Many have nothing on their headstone to reflect their service to our nation. How do we pay our respects to all veterans? Buying a poppy in the past fortnight to raise funds to support veterans and their families. Proudly wearing the poppy to show all veterans our continuing support. Thirdly, by attending this service. Is there more we can do? Let us join as a community and identify the graves of all veterans in the Camperdown Cemetery. Currently there are 163 on my list, and with your assistance I'm sure this number will grow. Please assist us to show respect to all who have served and are now at rest. Please contact me with details of family members or friends you knew who have served in our army and are resting in our local cemetery. That concludes our service.